Yeah, hi all. So in the last session we talked about HTML elements along with locators, and we saw the types of locators basically. So in also we saw how to interact with the DOM element using the locators with their precedence and preference as well. And so now in this video we'll be looking in depth about how to write CSS selectors and relative XPaths for interacting with the DOM elements. So let's quickly move on to our Selenium nodes that we have here. And now we'll be seeing how to, first of all, we'll see what CSS selectors are. So as we have already discussed that CSS selector is basically a type of locator that we write to interact with the DOM elements. And also we have studied how to write a CSS selector. So let's quickly recap onto how to write that. If in case you have missed what we had in the last lecture, so let's quickly brief it around. So had it been the case, if I need to write the CSS selector for this, so as we know, we usually write CSS selectors with tag name, that is input, and then the attribute, and then the attribute value for this. Okay, so much simple as that, pretty much. Okay, so here we can see that CSS selector is giving us uh, two of the elements for this. So for now, yeah, so we'll see how to deal with such situation where we have two of matching nodes and we want to prefer first, let's say we want to prefer any of those with our precedence, what, or we can say we are with our preference. So let me quickly grab this up. So if you want to have any of the, let's say if you want to cache the particular element, let's say you have n number of elements with the same CSS selector you write. So there is one thing in CSS selector you can write with nth of child. Nth of child means the you'll specify the which child you want. Okay, so we will specify the child you want, that is nth of child means. So we'll just simply, so syntax for that is simple colon and then nth and then dash child, and in this round brackets we'll give the indexing. Sorry, indexing means we as we know in XPath the indexing starts with 1, and in the CSS also indexing starts with 1 as well. So we'll write first, so this will point to this element, that is this one, the lower field, and we'll write second, so second will point to the first one. So you can select either of the ways you want. So this is how we do grouping in CSS selector. Had this been the case with XPath, I'll just show you in a minute. We use group by, we use grouping for this, and for grouping this, just open the brackets and close those, and just give the indexing as 1 or, okay, sorry for that, just a second. For XPath we need relative XPath at the rate name. Yeah, it's good. So just grouping this and saying that I want the first one or I want the second one. Okay, this is the first one and I want the second one as well. Okay, so that is how we deal with grouping in CSS selector as well as XPath. So let's say this is how, let's write a couple of those so that it makes you a habit of how to write for those things as well. So let's say I want to write a CSS selector for this. So I think you can stop this video and you can try it yourself as well using this website. The website is rahulshettyacademy.com/angular practice slash is the route. So you can use this. This is basically a testing website from Rahul Shetty, who is also a trainer. So now you can go onto this website and play around with the CSS selector or the XPath you want. So let me quickly write let's write few CSS selector for these. Okay, so let's say input type class is equal to btn success. So now I'll not okay, in the next I'll let you know input, and we had a type is equal to submit, I think. So let me quickly do that. Yeah, type is equal to submit. So that means type is equal to submit means that this is a button. So what we'll do, we'll write submit, and this is it, submit. Okay, what's the mistake here? Sorry, very sorry about this. For CSS we don't need accesses, so double slashes are not needed here. So input type is equal to submit, and we got this. Okay, so this is quite pretty much straightforward. If you want, I can, for more of practice, we can write for this as well. Pause, I would like to say pause the video and just do how you want to do. Just make a practice around how to do to write this, and then check the answer with this video as well. So input at the rate sorry, input id is equal to what we say, what was the id, example input, copy the id and paste it here in the string quotes, and that's it. So we have in one matching node as well. You can see there's a one matching node. So this is how we write CSS selectors. Okay, so now comes into picture that if had it been the case to be more, more advanced enough, or to be, we can say, write more smartly, or a good way or good presentational way, is that we know that in CSS selector hash stands for id and dot stands for class. This has a hash, and if you want to write a CSS selector with, let's say, for an element with an id, just simply write hash and paste the id name. This is equivalent to what we wrote, input type, input, and then I square brackets and id, and then example in the id name. This is equivalent to this, and this is more much, faster than the previous. Actually CSS selector is basically faster, but this is more optimized way to write that. It will straight away search with, irrespective of the tag, it will straight away search the id that belongs to there. Okay, so that is how we write ids for ids. Let's say had I been the case with yeah, this one. So okay, this is submit button. So if I need to write for this, so just copy the class name and paste it over here. And for class we write dot, but this won't give you. The reason behind this is because we can see in this there are two classes. The first one is, here btn dot btn, and then the second one is btn success. So we have two classes here. So let's say for two classes we'll have to write, we'll have to give a dot for the second class as well, since that is also a class here. So if we give that, so this is fine, pretty much fine. Okay, so this is how we write with respect to classes. Now let's move on to the notes and see what further cases we have uh, in our, this one, what we say, in our notes. So CSS selector. So if you want to traverse from parent to the immediate child node, we use a greater than symbol. Okay. So if you want to travel from parent to an immediate child, as in, let me zoom in a bit. Uh, so let's first understand here in the notes, and then we will be going on to that. So we can see that if I want to travel to this node, this is a relate absolute CSS selector that we are writing with heading from the parent to child. So I would like, in XPath we give a forward slash, and in CSS selector we give a greater than symbol. Okay, so that's same as to what we discussed basically, I think in the last session, here to here, that is page number 15. Okay, so that is what I discussed out there. So HTML greater than symbol body, then move on to H1. This is how we'll do. That is quite pretty much straightforward, I think so. There's nothing much detailed explanation about this. This is how we traverse. Okay, so let's quickly see on to something that we can work upon. So let's say we want to traverse around here in this HTML document. So I want to, let's say we'll consider this one, that is div with the class name as form group. So pause the video and write the CSS selector for this. I'll go with the optimized way. So just simply this, and then we want to see the select tag. So there's only one div that has select tag with this, and inside select I want to go with an option. Let's say I want to bring the first option. If you want to bring the first option, pause the video and think about how we can bring up, or how we can get the first option here with this CSS selector. So as we discussed in a few minutes back, that we'll be using nth of child here for the, we'll give the indexing whatever we want. For first, if we want, we'll have this. For second, if we want, we'll have this as well. So this is quite pretty much simple. So this is how traversing from parent to immediate child behaves for in CSS selectors. So but there's a query that I'll let you know in the XPath section, that we can traverse from parent to child in CSS selector, but we can't traverse backward direction, that is from child to the previous parent. But we can do that in XPath using the XPath accesses. So that we'll discuss later in the video. And so now let's move on to the another topic here, that is contains. So what is contains means? Contains, let's see here. First, let's try with this. So there is a string s is equal to I am learning Selenium. Okay, Boolean. Okay, so s dot contains Selenium will always return you true. Why? Because Selenium is a substring that is present in this entire string. So I hope everyone knows what substring means. Substring means a piece of that in a sub part of that whole world. We can say world in the sense. So a bed has four legs. So each of the leg is a subset of that bed. So that is what we are trying to see here. That I'm learning Selenium is, this is a string object, and Selenium is the subset substring of that. So this will always return you true. Okay, so it's the same case here as well, like in our simple old Java. So it's same as well. So if input type is equal to text and placeholder is equal to enter you max length this, and ID is equal to username is username, value is null, something around, and input type is equal to placeholder enter password, value is null around. Okay, so if I write here input type placeholder is equal to enter password, I'll get one matching node, and this will reference to this uh, element. Okay, but using contains, what we can do is, we'll see okay, so using contains, how we can do that? We can just write in, instead of enter password, we can only write password. So this password is a substring here, correct? So this will always point to this one. This will always point to this one. See the direction I'm saying to you. This will always point to this one, and input enter password. Enter pass will also point to this one. But had it been the case if you write only enter, so enter will always give you two matching nodes. Why is that so? Because enter is there are two elements that have a placeholder saying enter username and enter password, and enter is the substring in both of the placeholders. So this will always give you two matching nodes. Okay, and let's see an example of this here. If we come and let's see. So we'll see, let's take this field as well, that is input ID equals to password 1. So I'll not use the shortcut way for the ID. I'll show you what I'm trying to say to it. So you can write a normal CSS selector for this input, and what was that? It was ID is equal to the ID name and then the square brackets. Sorry, this is CSS selector. Sorry, very sorry about that. So input ID is equal to example input password 1. So this is a generic way of writing a basically a long form, we can say, of writing this CSS selector. But we can also write using contains, that ID has this string, and we know we are writing about password, so we can also say that get me the ID that has a text of password one. See, it's still giving us one of one. So it is on it validates on the basis of on the it is validating on this string itself, that this ID, whatever IDs are there into the and the HTML DOM, any of those IDs has the password one as a character in this string, its value, so it will always point to that. Simple as that. So that is pretty much clear, I think so. Here from this, let's give one example more, one shot more onto this. So I'll go with this ID, that is input class with ID example check one. Okay, so nothing, just nothing fancy around this, right? Check one here and you'll see the result as well. I think the spelling, yeah, these are case sensitive guys, so please be pretty much sure onto what you are expecting. So this is about contains for CSS selectors. Let's quickly move on to the next part of CSS selectors, that is starts with. So starts with means that something that is from the name itself you can see something that starts with means that it should have this criteria of text in the starting and nothing apart from that. Okay, so we can see here that input placeholder, this exponential sign is equal to enter pass. So this we are referring to this, still we are referring to this document only, this these elements only. So enter pass means enter pass means we'll be getting one matching node, that is enter and password. Okay, and if we go and write starts with enter, obviously there are two elements which have the placeholder as enter, that is this one and this one, so we'll be getting two matching nodes here as well. Okay, so this is something we'll should get give a try onto this. So let's say we'll go with this ID itself, and uh, sorry, and I'll write here example. Let's see, I'm pretty much not sure what will come. Yeah, so we have two here, since example input and example input password one and example check one. So if I'll write example I, so this will give me one. Okay, because this is the input element that is having the start that starts with example I. Okay, and this starts with example check, that is C is the character, so C differentiates with this. So I think this is clear pretty much, there is nothing fancy around this. So let's move on to, if it had it been the case, if I'll write here example content starts with E, so we have two, let me say something gibberish here, or let's basically give a class. Let's try it out with a class with E, nothing with F. Yeah, we have 8 classes that starts with F. Okay, so pretty much straightforward. So let's move on to the next part. So next part in this we have is how to write how to use multiple attributes in CSS selectors. Okay, okay, got it. So we multiple attributes in the sense that we are, let's say you are a character or you are a person, let's say. So you have a single you have your name, but let's say there are n number of there will be n number of people with having a name as Rishabh, but there will be very much, but Rishabh, and each of them will have their own characteristics. So so that is the same point here as well. So in the DOM element we will have, let's say, let's see this case. So it says that input type name is equal to radio and name is equal to input type is equal to radio, input type is equal to radio, and name is RD for both, and class is male and the second class is female, this for the second element. So in this case, if I write input type is equal to name RD, so what will I get? So I'll get two elements. But if I want to make it more clear that the input with the name as RD and the class as female, so this will point to this one, correct? And if I say input with the name as RD and the class as female, sorry, male, so this will point to this one. Okay, but CSS selector always returns you the what we say always returns you true only if both the conditions are true. That is and property of and, I think everyone knows that and is if both the things are true, then only you will get a true answer, or else the case will be false. So if I write input name is equal to something Z and the class as female, there will be no matching node. That's pretty much simple and understandable here. So we can combine attributes with while writing CSS selectors. It's just same in a real life scenario. Let's say there's some person whose name is X and there's another person whose name is X as well. So this X has will have some other properties, and this X will the second X will have some other properties. So seeing to that, we'll define that I want to reference that X with who has long hairs. I want to reference that X who has short hairs, or who has a round face or who has a square face. So that is how we are referring to in real time scenario we refer to, and here we refer as well that give me the output with the element having this name and this class. So it will return true if both the conditions satisfy, or else it will return you false. Okay, return false in the sense it will give you the element that is one of one matching node, or it will give you zero of zero. That is what. So let me give a try. Although this is pretty much, I don't think so. There is a this is a radio button. This is a radio button. Input type is equal to not a radio near. Okay, so we can okay. So we can go with this, that input type is equal to radio, and we have a ID as well. Okay, input type radio, input type equals to radio. So we have three, as we can see. First is this, second is this, third is this. And now I want to specify that the type is radio, but the name of this is, what is that? Inline radio option. Sorry, ID. Sorry. Name is also same here. Name is also same here. So we can go with ID. So give me the element that has input type radio and the ID as this one. Okay, there should be no spaces between these two. Okay, so that should we should remember that there should be no space, or this will not return you true. Okay, so this is much concerning that we should see around. And this is what about comparing or combining properties of an element. And let's try one more thing. If but that won't work, I don't think so. So this is for uh, uh, writing with multiple attributes. Okay, dealing with multiple attributes. So I would end this video on CSS selectors for now, and we, because the video will be long, we'll be seeing XPath in the next video. Okay, guys, so I think we have covered pretty much about CSS selectors. Okay, so although CSS selector does not allows you following siblings and all, but there's a case that there's a trick not, but there's a thing that I can show you. If you want to traverse from this label to this label, so so let me first tell you that this label is a child of this div. This select is a child of this div. But what are these two related to? How are these two related to? It's as simple as that, our parent hierarchy as well. That these two are siblings to each other. Okay. And for these two, this is the parent. And for this div, this is his sibling. As we can, let me expand, let me collapse this. So these two divs are sibling to each other, and their parent is this form group. Okay, so these divs have their parent as form group, and these two select and label have their parent as form group. Okay, although we cannot traverse backward, but there's backward in CSS selector, but moving forward, if you want to traverse between siblings, so I'll let you know. That's not discussed here in the notes, but I have pretty much clarity. Maybe I'm confirmed that it will work. So what we do, if we want to, if we, let's say, if you want to, just for knowledge sense I'm doing this, if you want to traverse to this select statement using this div, there are two options. So two options in the sense there are, let me show you. Uh, div div with, I think it was class. Okay, class, shit, huh, div with class as form group. And let me show you. Then we, where we want to go, we wanted to go in the label section. Where is that? By, in the label section, where is that, where is that, this one. Then we want to go into the label section. In order to traverse from parent to child, we know we can use this one as well, and or give a space just and type label. I don't know if everyone knows around this, but we can also give a space to move on to the next child as well. So that is what I have learned with experience. So, and now if you want to traverse between the siblings, between the two elements, so we just use a plus operator, and we'll write select here. And sorry, spelling is wrong, select, and this is pointing to this one. Okay, so in order to travel from one sibling to another sibling in CSS selector, we use plus operator. Okay, and we can also give spaces in order to travel so in order to travel into immediate child, we'll use a greater than symbol. And if you want to travel in any of the child, you can just use a space. Okay, giving a space will, let you move around any of the child of that parent. Okay, that is what the conclusion here is. So this is all about CSS selectors. I hope this is much understandable, and you can use this this website for practicing purpose, and write n number of CSS selectors on with your end, or you can basically go and write in any of the websites you want to write. I hope this will bring much clarity and much importance to this. So thank you all. Thanks for watching this. So let's meet in the next session. We'll discuss. We'll give a deep discussion on XPath as well. Okay. Thank you so much.